waist and massive arms. It just didn't look human. He looked like a cartoon. You know, he had a massive head. He had massive shoulders. He had the biggest arms I'd ever seen on somebody who wasn't, a weightlifter or a professional wrestler. And yet he was really a lean guy otherwise and incredibly explosive. And he was he would never threaten me or anything like that. And some players did, but he scared me just because you felt like the switch could flip either way at any time.
Oh, yeah. I remember thinking that just watching him play. But did you actually witness the dummy going over, or was it?
Yes. It was a big production.
And you thought it was real for a while.
I guess I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I just couldn't imagine somebody actually throwing a body over. And plus, it was Monty Kiffin. Everybody likes Monty Kiffin, So I think somebody might have even tipped me off because I knew to watch. So I think I knew what was going on, but it did fool some players at least momentarily.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, one other one, a little bit more modern, was standing around the practice fields in Mankato, and this was the time where, is Brett Favre going to play or isn't he? I don't remember if this was 2009 when I believe it was 2009 when, there were a lot of indications that him telling the Jets that he was retiring wasn't really true, that he had the surgery to repair the biceps. And all of a sudden, there's a lot of commotion. There are some executives huddling up with the Wilfs and with Brad Childress, and you kind of got this feeling that something was up. And it was just this during practice where Childress walks kind of away from practice to another practice field and is huddling up with the Wilfs, and you could tell there was some real serious discussions going on. And there were indications maybe it was Favre, but nobody was really sure. But it just led to what we've become so accustomed to. Anything with Brett Favre comes with a ton of drama and a ton of intrigue and buildup. And that one was really interesting to watch. It just take shape from sort of that grassroots, hey, we think we're going to be close to signing him, but we can't let anybody know what's going on. Yet all these executives are huddled up, in front of a few thousand fans in the stands.
I remember that one well. I'll give you my memories of that day. First, I do want to thank SotaStick.com. It's SOTA, like the end of Minnesota, SotaStick.com. And they do have a limited run of John Randall shirts in right now, and actually hoodies with John, his face paint and everything on the front, looking like he's ready to kill somebody. So there's lots of football stuff here. There are new Twinkies hats that are out now. They have a members-only club that gives you early access and some good packaging deals. But the cool thing about SotaStick is they have everything. They're going to have a SotaStick pop-up at the St. Paul Summer Beer Fest. They end up at all kinds of different events. You can buy double-sided flags. You can buy outdoors gear. You can buy barbecue stuff, cooking tongs, everything like that. You can buy a hockey stick that works as a toilet plunger. But they have shirts. They sell certain things that give back to charity, including the John Randall face paint hoodie, Hendy's Garage, JP's Shooting School, Fan HQ autograph collection. They have blade shades, really cool, like hockey style sunglasses. And they have some shirts on sale right now for $19. If you use the promo code TALKNORTH, you will get free shipping on any sized order. SotaStick.com, free shipping with the promo code TALKNORTH. So I remember being there, and what it was, I think if you remember, I believe it was 2010. Everybody thought the Brett Favre experiment was over with. They didn't think he was coming back. He seemed intent on retiring. And then it was a windy day at training camp in Mankato. And Sage Rosenfels and Tavares Jackson are dropping back and throwing passes, and the ball is going nowhere. It's like the ball isn't getting to receivers. It's like we got so spoiled by watching Favre just throw these bullets. And now we're watching two guys who can't really handle the wind. And I think Childress just panicked and told the Wilfs, I need that guy. And I think they came up with whatever. I think it was $25 million or something to sign him for 1 year. So that's the way I remember that day.
Yeah, well, wasn't it 2010 when it was the Steve Hutchinson, Ryan Longwell contingent that went down to Mississippi, and that was actually at Winter Park when that one happened. I remember that because The excuse that was used for where is Ryan Longwell was he was inside practicing specialty kicks, which was just the goofiest thing that they could have come up with, but just trying to throw people off the scent of that one. But, it just shows that for how big of money the NFL is, and it was back then, there were still some really goofy moments of indecision and panic decisions and all of that. But, Brett Favre, both years, 2009, 2010, were as interesting of two seasons as I've ever covered, just because Favre could, he could keep everybody guessing what he wanted to do during the off season. And you knew he was never going to come to training camp because that just wasn't him. He had enough experience in the NFL at that point that he could kind of write his own storyline and timeline. And but yet he was just a fascinating person to cover just because of the way that he was willing to open up and talk about just a ton of different subjects.
Yeah, and it was great to watch a quarterback who really knew what he was doing and who could get that. I mean, he was fascinating, and I really think if they don't get that 5-yard penalty in the Superdome, Longwell makes that kick, they go to the Super Bowl, and I think they beat the Colts handily.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Speaking of quarterbacks, another one of my favorite memories, which was just I don't think I've ever tried to hold back on an eye roll as big as I did when Donovan McNabb shows up at training camp. And this was during the holdout year, the lockout year. Everybody's wondering about Ponder. How's he going to do because he's a rookie with the offseason, without an offseason of work. Vikings go in, they get Donovan McNabb. He shows up, and he looks like he has spent a lot of his spring and summer downing pizzas and not really keeping up and being in shape. And, somebody kind of asked him about, hey, are you ready to go? Have you been working out? And he offered basically just to lift up his shirt and show people how in shape he was. And you could tell under that jersey, there was not a ripped six-pack. This was more of a party ball that he had been working on. And I almost laughed when he offered to do that, because you could just tell he hadn't been really working too hard at football.
No question about it. All right, you're going to bring up a name that I haven't thought about or heard about in a long time, Bob Sapp.
Yeah, and this brings me back a little bit to the Lesnar conversation, because I don't think I've ever seen an NFL body quite like Bob Sapp's. The closest one that's out there in my mind and picturing the two of them side by side would be Daniil Hunter. And people who know Hunter know he's ripped, but Bob Sapp just had these massive bulging muscles. He looked like he belonged in any bodybuilding magazine you could think of. And yet, as massive as he was, and he was tall, and he had some athleticism to him, once again, it shows that the NFL is a certain kind of athlete that's needed at different positions. But I thought that maybe he would have a chance, and after a few days of looking at him and watching NFL defensive linemen go against him, you could kind of see, this guy might not be the answer to them, but wow, was he an impressive body shape.
No question about it. All right, let's go through your worst memories before I offer some of my best and worst memories.
Okay, well, the worst would have to be Corey Stringer's death, no doubt about it. It was just an incredibly sad moment or sad time. And, I don't know that the Vikings ever truly recovered from it. I think it kind of lingered years down the road when it was the same players still on the team. I wasn't down there that morning, but I do remember the Chris Carter and Randy Moss and Denny Green press conference, and it was so incredibly sad to watch these players just deal with somebody that they loved so much. And Corey Stringer had such an engaging, humorous, funny personality, just a massive man who had a teddy bear of a personality. And it was just such a sad day and a sad year as they tried to recover from that.
Absolutely. You're going to bring up Toby Gerhart. I'd forgotten about this.
Yeah, well, Toby came in and he was supposed to be this complimentary back to Adrian Peterson. And it looked like, for whatever reason, especially the defensive teammates were just not going to put up with Toby Gerhart. I don't want to say that it was racist. It might have been. It might have been a white running back in the NFL. It's been discussed before Toby, to me, he was a guy who had varied interests. He had videos out there of him being in choir and all that sort of thing. And I don't know if that was it or if he came in with an attitude that rubbed people the wrong way. But I remember Pat Williams, Kevin Williams just taking it to Gerhart in training camp practices where, back then there was more hitting, there was more tackling, and all that was part of it. But they went the extra mile to show him that this isn't Stanford anymore. This is the NFL, and you're going against one of the better defensive lines in the NFL, and you're going to have to earn every single thing that you get coming to you.
Yeah, that was a brutal day. Another sad day, death of Mike Zimmer's father.
Yeah, and that one came on very suddenly, and it was early in the Zimmer tenure in Minnesota, and just to see Mike Zimmer, a guy that had a rough personality. He was holding players accountable all the time, and then to hear him, fortunately he stopped and he was willing to talk about it, that he was going to be gone from training camp for a couple of days. But to hear him talk about the influence that his dad had on him, and even when his dad was in the hospital, he wanted to, receive some film of Vikings practices so he could talk it over with Mike, and they could just have good father-son bonding moments. That was just another sad day that really sticks out in my mind as one of the not so great training camp memories.
As both a baseball and football writer, I always thought hazing was really stupid. It's just this macho, generational, it was done to me, therefore I should do it to the next person thing that has nothing to do with winning games or building any kind of a cohesive locker room. And I think you remember one particular incident.
Yeah, well, this, coming off the Mike Tice era where there was, a lot of razzing of different players and hazing and that sort of thing. Shortly after Leslie Frazier took over, I don't remember if it was his first or second training camp when he was the head coach, but I do remember a player, and I might have been Erasmus James. I don't remember exactly if that was him or not, but I do remember a player that was taped to the goalpost. They poured Gatorade or some liquid, whether it was Gatorade or water, over him, and then kind of threw some of the powder that is used before taping over him. And Frazier just walked by, kind of shook his head and said, that's it. We're not going to be a team that hazes anymore. And that was quickly the end of it. There wasn't any more of that going on, at least publicly, in front of media and fans and all that. And so that to me was kind of a day that sort of marked the end of real hazing at training camp. Now, they still did their talent shows where the rookies would have to get up and...
Yeah, but that's fun.
Yeah.
That's not hazing. I mean,
exactly.
People getting up and singing songs, that's fun.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, you're trying to show different talents that players may have, or, a lot of them even had fun with it, knowing that they might not be the greatest singers, but they would make up some song or redo some song to fit the current times. But, I just remember that as kind of this turning point where Frazier walked by a guy a player that was being hazed, and just, you could tell he was really disappointed, like genuinely. It mattered to him that there would be no more hazing in Vikings training camp.
Good stuff. Let's wrap up the show with some of my memories. I do want to thank Hoaglund, Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent. He works anywhere in the Twin Cities you need him. Saw him out at the 3M Open. I played golf out at that Tim and I both played golf with Tony out at that golf course before.